Breaking the silence. Iran, Israel, and the shadow war exposed. Intro. Welcome to Global Pulse, the podcast where headlines get human. I'm your host, Tala, and today we're talking about a story the mainstream media rarely tells completely. The ongoing military conflict between Iran and Israel, a battle that officially came out of the shadows in 2024 and continues to shake the region in 2025. This episode explores not just the what, but the why, and gives voice to a side of the story that's often left out: Iran's point of view. Segment 1. A history of hostility and pressure. To understand the present, we need to revisit the past. Since the 1980s, Iran has been under immense international pressure, sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and repeated covert operations targeting its infrastructure and leadership. Israel, backed by the United States, has long accused Iran of seeking nuclear weapons, something Iran has consistently denied, claiming its program is peaceful and within the rights granted by the Non-Proliferation Treaty. In return, Iran has watched Israeli warplanes strike its allies in Syria, assassinate its scientists, and wage cyber warfare on its economy, often with impunity. The reality is, Iran has been under siege for decades, often fighting back through proxies because it had no choice. But everything changed in April 2024, when Iran took the gloves off. Segment 2. The Damascus Spark. On April 1st, 2024, Israel carried out a deadly airstrike on Iran's diplomatic consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing several high-ranking Iranian officers. This was a violation of international law, and for Iran, it crossed a red line. 12 days later, on April 13th, Iran responded, not through proxies, but directly. In a move many called historic, Iran launched over 300 drones and missiles at military targets in Israel. This was not an act of aggression from nowhere. It was a message. Iran will no longer tolerate unchecked attacks on its sovereignty. And yet, despite the massive attack, Iran warned regional neighbors in advance and carefully targeted military assets, not civilians. This was calculated retaliation, not blind escalation. Segment 3. Israel strikes back on Iranian soil. Israel responded quickly, launching a direct attack inside Iran, targeting what is believed to be a missile base near Isfahan. This marked the first time in recent memory that Israel hit deep within Iran's territory, pushing the situation to the brink. Iran, while angry, chose restraint. It didn't launch a second wave. Instead, it called on the United Nations to condemn the Israeli actions. While the West remained mostly silent, many in the global South and Islamic world stood by Iran's call for justice and accountability. Segment 4. What's happening now? Mid-2025. In the months since, tensions have not disappeared, they have transformed. Iranian scientists and military bases remain under threat from Israeli and Western covert operations. Israel continues its strikes in Syria and Lebanon while calling for more sanctions on Iran. Meanwhile, Iran is doubling down on self-reliance, strengthening its defense systems, improving regional alliances, and calling for a fairer global order where no nation is above international law. Inside Iran, the mood is resilient. The people are used to hardship, sanctions, isolation, war, but they're also proud. They view these attacks not as setbacks, but as tests of dignity and national strength. Segment 5. The bigger picture. This isn't just about two nations trading missiles. It's about the right of a sovereign country to defend itself, the dangers of unchecked military power in the region, and the hypocrisy of international responses. When Iran defends itself, it's called aggression. When Israel strikes inside another country, it's called self-defense. This double standard is not lost on the people of the region or the wider world. Still, Iran has called for peace. It supports a regional security pact where outside forces don't dictate the future of the Middle East. Whether that dream becomes reality depends on whether the world is willing to listen, not just to missiles, but to reason. Outro. That's all for this episode of Global Pulse. Whether you agree with Iran or not, understanding why this conflict exists is crucial. Dismissing one side leads to more misunderstanding and more violence. We hope you leave this episode not just informed, but thinking more critically about global headlines and whose voice gets heard. If you appreciated this perspective, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back next week with more global context, truthfully told. Until then, I'm Talha. Stay safe and stay awake.